约克岛位于乔治亚海峡，在加拿大军事史上占有重要地位，尤其是在二战前和二战期间的动荡时期。1937年，加拿大自治领议会预见到潜在的威胁，批准在约克岛建造堡垒。选择这个战略位置是为了阻止任何未来的敌军从北部进入乔治亚海峡，为保护温哥华和维多利亚提供防线。加拿大国防部决定在约克岛设立防御设施。由于该岛的处偏远，建造这个军事设施并非易事。从水到建筑材料的所有必要物资都必须由联合轮船公司和加拿大皇家海军运营的小型船只运输。劳动力主要是当地人，许多建筑工人来自附近的凯尔西湾和塞沃德谷。在建筑活动的高峰期，岛上有250到500人，包括士兵和劳工。随着欧洲紧张局势的升级，加强加拿大防御的紧迫性变得显而易见。到1939年8月中旬，非永久性现役民兵部队被动员起来负责这些海岸防御，以应对与德国的冲突。第一探照灯团 RCA 和第15海岸旅温哥华 RCA 的士兵和加拿大海福斯高地人是第一批驻扎在这里的部队。就在第二次世界大战爆发前几周和战争期间，约克岛成为军事活动的中心。它由来自第5团 BC RCA 的炮手，来自加拿大苏格兰团玛丽公主团的士兵，加拿大皇家通信兵团、加拿大皇家陆军勤务兵团的成员，来自 RCN 的水手和其他军事人员。保卫这个多元化的团体包括早期战争的老兵，例如第一次世界大战和布尔战争，他们都为保卫加拿大这个孤立的前哨基地做出了贡献。1942年，该岛的武器装备进行了升级，原来的 4.7 英寸火炮被更先进的6英寸 MKV 火炮取代，并与温哥华斯坦利公园的福格森角炮台进行了交换。这次升级是加拿大在战争期间不断努力现代化其海岸防御的一部分。第二次世界大战后，约克岛的军事意义逐渐减弱，这座堡垒在战后退役，如今该遗址由 BC 公园保护和维护。这是约克岛景点标志。2017年，塞沃德凯尔西湾码头揭幕了一个新的景点标志，为游客提供有关约克岛历史及其在第二次世界大战期间作为海岸防御地点的重要性的信息。约克岛的历史意义不会被遗忘，这是对所有在约克岛服役的士兵的致敬。他们在现代历史上最具挑战性的时期之一，保卫了他们的国王和国家。约克岛见证了加拿大的军事准备，以及在那里服役的士兵的持久遗产。这里是历史、自然和社区管理交汇的地方，让游客一睹过去的风采，同时保留了不列颠哥伦比亚省的自然美景。当地志愿者在其维护中发挥着至关重要的作用。志愿者的网站 https://3w.voncouverguners.ca/。您可以从温哥华或坎贝尔河到达塞沃特。约克岛位于温哥华西北约248公里处，坎贝尔河西北约68公里处。从塞沃特的凯尔西湾出发，您可以租船或联系当地志愿者。约克岛周边地区的海流强劲，因此根据潮汐时间计划行程非常重要。查看潮汐图以了解安全航行时间。由于其他地区有铁丝网防御，出于安全考虑，建议在岛东侧的考特尼湾登陆。抵达后有小径可以探索历史遗迹，但要小心，因为岛上有2战建筑的残余，可能会很危险。请坚持既定路线，避免发生事故。今天我们跟随退役军人罗斯一行前往约克岛，它是一座隐藏在大海中的珍宝，远离喧嚣，宛如梦境中的秘境。沿着约翰斯顿海峡南端的航线，你会惊奇地发现一个并不为大多数人所知的战略性岛屿。这个小岛隐藏在历史与自然交融的迷雾中，等待着那些渴望探险与历史的灵魂。今天 York Island 被纳入 BC 公园系统， 名为 Handy-Makola 约克岛保护区。岛上的历史遗迹得到了保护，提供了一条通往过去的独特路径。探险者可以沿着安全的步道，探索废弃的炮台就防御工事，感受那段历史的余温。当我踏上这片土地的那一刻，我的心情就像是打开了一本古老的书，每一页都充满了未知的惊喜。岛上的空气清新得让人眩晕，仿佛能洗涤灵魂的每一丝尘埃。海风轻拂着我的脸颊，带着海洋的咸味和自由的气息，让我忍不住深呼吸，想要将这份清新永远留存。岛的风景多变，每一次转角都是一幅新的画卷。峭壁上那些粗犷的岩石形成了天然的雕塑，仿佛是大自然的杰作，向每一个过客展示着它的力量与美。在阳光的照耀下，这些岩石不时闪烁出一种神秘的光芒，仿佛在向我讲述着岛屿的历史。我最爱的莫过于傍晚时分，太阳缓缓落入海平面，海水在金色的余晖中泛着波光粼粼，仿佛整个海面都变成了一个巨大的镜子，倒映着天边的云彩。那一刻，我感到自己与自然融为一体，所有的烦恼和压力都随风飘散。夜晚的约克岛又展现出另一番风情，没有城市的灯光污染，星空格外明亮，每一颗星星都像是在向我眨眼，述说着宇宙的奥秘。躺在炮台上望着满天星斗，我感到一种前所未有的宁静和满足。这趟旅行不仅让我看到了自然的壮丽，也让我重新认识了自己。离开心灵的牢笼，远离日常的琐碎，我在这里找回了渴望自由的心。约克岛不仅仅是一处旅游胜地，更是一处心灵的避难所，让我灵魂得到了真正的放松与洗涤。
A tower here up at the top of what they call Hill 260, which is the highest point on the island. There was also another one on top of the bot. So they had, towards the end of the war here, they had two 40mm Boffer anti-aircraft guns, 3 different 50 caliber emplacements, and then numerous various like Vickers and other machine gun emplacements around, and then the 2 6-inch guns that we'll see when we get up to the top as well. The guns themselves aren't there, but of course the emplacements are. They first started with 4.7-inch guns, and then halfway through the war, after Pearl Harbor, they realized better the Japanese capabilities. So they swapped them with the guns that were where we now call Ferguson Point, which is where the tea house is in Vancouver. So, fun little fact, if you're ever parked at the tea house in Vancouver, you'll find a spot where they have this big cement pad that has 3 massive pieces of plate steel over top of them. That's actually the underground magazine for Ferguson Point, and actually goes 3 stories underground. Oh, wow. from that point. And when you're also at, oh, watch out, that's a bee falling in love with you. The other thing about Ferguson Point as well is if you're there, no matter what, there's always 2 half circles that are there, because underneath the concrete from the emplacements is still actually there. So when we get up to the fort, you'll see this. These are some of the original images and maps from back in the day. This one also just a different copy of this one. So we're right here at the wharf. Everybody's pretty fit here today, so we'll probably do what we call like the 3/4 tour, depending on what it is and how everybody feels. So we'll be going up this part here, passing the old officers' quarters, following the reclaimed road. We'll make sure that we stop over at the water tank and the radio building, and then we'll go up to the fort itself. At that point, we'll figure out who wants to go down to see Sunderland Post, Searchlight number 1 and Searchlight number 2. Those are a bit of a hike where it's not quite bush, like we're not, but there is quite a bit of up and down, and it is a little bit technical for when we go through that side. And then after that, we'll spend some time again up at the fort, have a little bit of lunch, tour around and talk. Then we'll come back down and go and do the powerhouse, the old gymnasium, and the number 3 Searchlight as well. So that'll cover all of the really important parts. We're probably going to skip Courtney Bay today because there isn't really that much to see, because it is a good coming and going spot, but there isn't anything that's really a showstopper there.
Someone was tented out there in an orange tent a few weeks back.
There, on this side here is a very popular spot where people will stop and land their kayaks, because they can actually bring them up onto shore quite safely. So a lot of the times it's because of kayakers that they'll find through that spot. I can't remember which site it is. It's there's a website actually that advertises this is the place for kayakers to actually land. They haven't focused on this area yet, but that's all right. So, and then when we're up at the fort as well, just so you can keep this in mind, when we enter the fort itself, number 9 is where we'll have the actual outhouse that's there. This is the grenade and small arms stores building. These 2 buildings, there's barely any remnants left. There's the old magazine, the new magazine, and we'll be seeing all of that. The number 1 and number 2 gun stores building, the BOP, or the battery observation post, gun number 1, gun number 2, the Beaufort platform, and the crew shelter. Anytime you guys want me to pull these out again, or if you want to take a look at them, feel free to ask, okay? So there you go. That's the maps for right now. And then just for safety's sake, of course, everybody knows, you guys know especially, like I do have a marine radio on me. Cell phones do work here. The Coast Guard folks, they're here quite a bit and are familiar with what's going on. We always make sure that we call 442 when we're doing trips like this, so that they know we're out here, because there is a protocol to being out here for them. And I have my whole first aid kit and all those other kinds of things. If there's anything that has to do with the creature and those types of things, that's up to me. So don't do anything other than just get in a group and follow Brendan's instructions at that point, okay? Because it's just, I'm not going to be doing any Rambo hero stuff, but I am used to dealing with them a little bit more than average. And especially in this place, there's nowhere to escape. So if you have a big creature, we're stuck on an island that is at its most about 900 yards across. So you're not doing any of the same tactics that you would in the woods, where you just keep walking away as best as you can. There's nowhere we can walk away to, so there's different things that we have to do.
You actually get bear over here?
Yes, we've had 3 of the big 4 over here. The only thing we haven't seen over here yet is grizzly.
And they're pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were on the front row last week.
Yeah.
There's not much food though,
No.
so they don't stay for long.
No, and most of the time when we do see the black bear, the reason we see the black bear is because there's one that lives at the north part of Hardwick here. And he always comes over to York when the female is, because that female is the one that lives over here. So she swims both channels, or has for a long time. And anytime that he knows that she's on Hardwick, because she knows that she'll kill him, he swims over here. And that's the only time we see him over here. So, but we have had wolves and cougars over here too. So, yeah.
Just one quick note for safety. If you can see the water, there's barbed wire.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere near the water, because you won't see the barbed wire and you'll get stuck in it.
This beach section is the only section where the sand is, where there really isn't barbed wire. But as soon as you get up on top of that basalt thing there's barbed wire, and it's double coil, quad spike, anti-personnel. So that means instead of it being farm, where it has 2 spikes every foot to 10 inches, this is every 4 inches, and it's quad spike. So you will not see it. So yeah, like you said, if you're within 50 feet of any sort of high tide line, assume you're already in it, you just haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
If you're going off trail, make sure you're watching every single step you take, because there are spots where there is especially when we get like around the gymnasium and those types of areas. There's all kinds of jagged metal, nails, all kinds of industrial stuff, weird stuff that people have put out here or thrown everywhere. You'll see pottery down here. We heard stories in the 50s and 60s, people coming over here and trap shooting all the plates and bowls that were left over and those kinds of things. So, yeah. So.
In the unlikely event that you do get lost, what do you do?
Woo!
That's right. Stay put and yell.
Yeah. If you hear a woo, you woo back. We call it woo. We call it woo-dar.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah. So just anytime you're not sure, or, you know, like just throw out that big woo, and everybody answers back, so that way you can figure out where you are. And if you can't hear anybody, well, that hasn't really ever happened yet.
No, you can hear everybody from pretty much everywhere.
I can be pretty loud.
So there we go. Perfect. Over to well, basically this whole area here was the camp. They had about 30-40 buildings just in this area down here. So this building that we're looking at here is the officers' quarters. This was one of the first buildings that was built on York Island. Lots of buildings had different uses as they built more and more buildings. But this one was the general building for greeting everybody. Big working veranda. It's the stairs just down the side here to come up to it. And there's been a big effort recently, as you can see, to clean everything out inside. Stuff in my pocket again. That's not good. Okay. Did we stack bricks last time we were here?
Who did what in the bricks?
Justin said he did.
Yeah, Justin did a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. And another thing to keep when we're here, because especially because of the recent rain, you'll just want to watch where you're walking quite a bit. It's a very interesting thing over here that there's a species of snail called Pacific sandman. Most of their range, it's pretty rare to see them this far north. Most of their range seem to be up until like places in Washington and stuff like that. But on this island, because they're so isolated, they've actually started to experience gigantism. So we found some of them with 16 centimeters long and shells the size of golf balls. Okay. And they're so big that there's times where we've walked up trails and you look and you can see one and it'll actually raise up and look at you and it can see you. And we've had ones where we were over here with a group of junior rangers, which is the rangers version of cadets, and one girl found one and she put it on her shoulder and wore it like a parrot for 3 days, and the thing hung out like it literally would come in. It just, I was totally fascinated that it could be, you know, on this girl's shoulder for 3-4 days, and she took it everywhere with her. We've had other ones that were working and you'll move it away and an hour later it's back. And we had one that's just came and sat and hung out with us one time when we were having lunch for a couple hours, and then as soon as we were done having lunch, it's literally everybody started cleaning up and it just turned and off again into the woods. So they're really funny little guys for sure. So cool. Yeah. The idea for this building in the future is to clear it all out and build a new structure inside. Do minimal restoration, but what we're not really doing restoration work on York so much as that we're going to be bringing it back. We're actually trying to arrest it degrading and decomposing. So we're trying to keep it in the state that it is currently in as best as possible. So this is going to mean repinning and repairing these walls and building a new structure inside as a greeting and sort of area for people to come out here and stay. So we're hoping to copy the model that they have for Middle Natch Island with docents and all those other kinds of things. But there's always white rocks, and underneath us is white crush. So to make it so that they weren't giving their position away, they had white gravel and white rocks along the sides of all of the trails, so you could follow that in the dark without having to use flashlights or turn on the headlights on the vehicles. And this tree would have had to have been here at the time, and it has now, of course, had 85 years to grow since. It's also one you can see must have been multiple trees that have grown together, as cedar will do. But this guy here, he's still probably when I first started coming out here, it's almost 20 years now. He was, you know, probably another 3 feet smaller all the way around. So yeah, I would call this guy Big Seed.
Pretty good.
So what you do is you roll it until all stuff's off of it and it's green.
Thank you.
Okay. Just wait.
Just
No,
wait.
just wait.
Just wait.
And then you chew it.
Anyone else?
But not
So
like, just gently.
Yeah, mild chew.
You squish it. You squish it between your molars
Okay.
and then hold it in your cheek because it is a very and it's also just rain too. So it can be quite strong flavor, but it's licorice root.
那个
You ever
在
tried it, Scott?
口腔里面两边嚼，先含住。
Yeah.
Can we swallow it? Or?
No, don't no. Just it's just for the flavor.
It almost tastes like a rhubarb.
然后就跟口香糖一样，不要吞，就吐。
Squish.
嗯，
Chew-
然后
That's
先
it.
先
No
嚼
chew,
碎
just。squish.
Yeah, Max, treat it like gum where you give it a little chew,
我
squish,
不知道。
suck on it, and then spit it out.
And how about the roots? Like the roots or the stem has water, and can we drink it? Or?
Oh no, but it changes the flavor. It's sucked this because it's sucked up more water because of the rain. It's a different flavor than it would be in full summer.
Oh,
It's
okay.
very strong in full summer when it's
Oh,
dry.
it would be, yeah.
不能喝。他说那个什么下雨过后和那个
Yeah, just
那
like
干旱天，它那个味道是不一样的。
Oh,
It's
you
not for
got a
everybody.
whole- yeah.
I
It'll
swallowed
be
mine.
tart if you get it too far in there, yeah.
Yeah, you just literally just squish it
Just a
and then
little
suck
bit
on it.
the
That's it.
outside, yeah.
Okay.
A little sweet.
Yeah, licorice. Yeah.
Licorice. Yeah. It's
And then you got a whole bunch of rotten. These would have been really
You never
tasty
had
about a
black
couple months
licorice
ago. That's
before?
all oyster mushrooms right there.
Oh, okay.
We want to
water
keep it
tower.
fresh. Yeah.
There's-
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna make
Oh,
my
not
own
quite as
report.
fresh as I'd like, but yeah. Oyster mushrooms.
Yeah.
These ones aren't too bad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make my way.
These ones are
Okay.
edible.
I've seen these before.
Okay. Chain link fence that's here. So and then we'll just pop in here to see the big water tower. Pacific side there. This is not a big one, but he is twice as big as you would regularly find him in their range. But this still isn't even quite a big one. So he's going to check us out. Yeah. They're really interesting because they have different personalities. Each one will do slightly different things than the other. It's kind of interesting.
Like dogs.
Almost, yeah. So, yeah, that one's probably what we would call a medium-sized one out here.
So they get brought to York Island on
They've been here
transports
the
or-
whole time.
Okay.
They've been here the whole time. So,
Any species that have been brought here by just supplies and
not that we know of. Not that we've really seen. There isn't anything that doesn't. Well, there are a few plants that are here that shouldn't be. For example, like we found quite a bit of holly. We just started finding Himalayan blackberry up at the top of the fort. There used to be, but isn't anymore. It got eaten. There used to actually be a couple of rose bushes down in the camp area there, and there are a couple of flowers once in a while that show up.
And
From-
an apple tree.
And there's 4 apple trees up at the top as well.
Is that birds brought in?
No, those were cores. People threw their cores into the woods, and now we've got apple trees over here. So if we cut right through here, this in front of us is the water tower. It's 25 by 25 by 20 feet deep. There's a ladder there that is perfectly safe to climb, and in fact, the ladder is big rings that go all the way through the concrete, so a person can actually climb down inside as well. And the 20 feet is actually inside. It's designed to handle 50,000 gallons of water. So I'm just gonna head up there myself because we have to drain it every once in a while.
You can go take a look in there if you want. Climb up the top.
you. You're welcome.
You know,
Yeah, like when you're looking, don't necessarily stand up all the way.
Cool too. That doesn't look bad.
yeah.
Exactly 3 and 3.
Well, just after the rain, it might be a little bit
I have a vape, but I don't bring it. I just use it for the in-between.
Yeah.
I let the cat.
It's a very big hole.
And then one other note of caution while we're here. Try not to touch any surface that you see is painted, because the paint here was made by mixing powdered white lead and linseed oil. So don't lick the walls, essentially.
If you like lead poisoning,
Yeah.
you know.
But it's kind of neat because when you look at all the pours that they did here, you can actually see the grain from the fir when they split it still in a lot of spots in the concrete. That's overflow. Yeah. This is. Down into here where you start to see some of the rocks and stuff piled up. There's actually a sink that went down so that they could connect the pump lines and stuff like that. So. But even though this is lower than the fort, the pressure from this was enough that they were able to step it to a tank that's at the same level but up near the fort. And so they had, but a lot of the stuff, like for example, if you were washing your hands or flushing toilets, it was salt water that they used mostly around here. So they used the fresh water just for consumption and washing and cooking.
So what was their treatment method for the water?
That's it. That's
It probably,
it. Just had to be fresh.
it
yeah.
probably didn't last that long. They probably went through a lot of it.
Water out of a creek, man.
Well, they were taking a 10,000 gallon tank on a barge back and forth on a constant basis the whole time.
Because sometimes they run through sand or whatever. So, but yeah, untreated, fresh water.
That I hear.
Pardon me?
Jacob's tuning up.
Jacob's playing with bagpipes.
Perfect. So quite a few pours to get this done.
Yeah.
A lot. You'll see a lot more once you get to the fort. You'll be like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Up at the fort, from the #1 gun around the corner to the edge of the new magazine, we've calculated at over 110,000 cubic feet of poured concrete.
Wow.
Okay, everybody went up the ladder that wants to? Sweet. Let's go check out the radio building and communications line up to the fort.
Is that
So-
the original piece?
Sorry?
That's the original piece.
Yeah, this is one of the, you'll find some of these on trees in different spots around the island.
Looks so brand new.
So, if you keep in, we're just about at the center of the island. So the fort up there, and then the radio building that we're going to just tucked around the corner here. So that radio building is hidden from any sort of plunge or direct fire from what was assumed when the Japanese would be coming down Johnstone Strait. So that building had another tower that was on the bluff behind the water tower that we were just at, and we found the pilings for them. They had a 50-foot tower that was there, so that if this place was under attack, they'd start screaming at Vancouver to let them know that something was going on. Because even though we think about munitions and guns, and a lot of that stuff is, kind of intimidating to us, York was actually called an examination battery. So they were supposed to just make sure that nobody was passing by this place. And although we do think 6-inch guns are big, their maximum range was only 9,000 yards. The average Japanese corvette, not even battleship, that they would have sent down the channel was able to fire from up to 24 miles away, and some of the bigger cruisers and battleships could hit almost 50. So that thing would have parked it. A Japanese ship would have parked itself off of Malcolm Island and pounded this place into gravel before they even saw a flash from the guns. So it's just something that's why that radio building is hidden where it was, and then tucked into the bluff, so that if anything happened up there, these guys were calling and letting Vancouver know it was bad. There's this radio building that was here. So you can see the remnants of the old camouflage paint that was on the side as well. And then we'll show you, since it's the anniversary trip, we'll show you guys something, a little secret. We all grabbed flashlights. And I get this just right. It's hard to see in the... There is, written on the wall here,
It looks like it's
a
right
crest
here.
and names from guys that were in the engineering corps that served here,
Wow.
scratched in the paint. So honor hole, and there's a poem here that we haven't been able to, and a series of initials and more writing from different names here. So, and it was the contractors came over here. We sort of knew about it, and it's because it's easier to see when it's not half wet like this is, but they actually used the LiDAR and they were able to scan and get a whole bunch more of the images out of it, but we haven't been able to get the data out of them. So, oh, there's another one. That one's actually pretty good size. Yeah, see? That one's getting to be a good size.
I'm glad I didn't scorch them.
So, and they're heavy too. Like they've got some beef to them. They always come out after it rains, especially in the summertime. They can live to be up to 4 years old too. So, yeah, kind of neat. The York Island Armored Corps.
Has anyone eaten them?
If they did, they get run off the island. Yeah, sure. We're actually going to go back this way. We won't go down to Courtney Bay today. There you are.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, and if you are here, and the best place for most vessels, like for yourself, Scott, if you were wanting to come over here, I usually suggest people do a bungee tie or a cross bay tie in Courtney Bay. When you do come up, you have to be very careful to watch for the flagging tape that's there, because that is the area where the barbed wire is the nastiest. There's only one small hole that you can walk through. You can see it as a trail because we've taken driftwood and actually lined it so you don't walk through it.
Okay.
But you have to be very careful because it is all through that whole section like you would not believe.
Yeah.
And it'll rip you up. The first time we experienced it, we were just exploring on one of the second or third trips we were here, and my son was here, and all of a sudden he just goes squawk and disappears into the woods, and he was right into it. And then me and my buddy run to go and get him out, and next thing we're into it. So it was supposed to just be go over, pick your kid up, see what's happening with them, turned into a half an hour ordeal and almost having to take him off the island for stitches. So yeah.
I do have an extra first aid kit as well.
Yeah. Have you been here before?
No, I just
Okay,
said
no.
everyone else go first.
Yeah.
I hope to be back again. This is amazing. I have veterans in my family, so this is very intrinsic to me.
My great
That's awesome.
So on the right, the outhouse. On the left, grenade and small arms stores. You go in there, try not to go actually in it if you can. Okay. It has a false floor and quite a bit of it's rotting. At the entrance you're fine, but towards the back it could be almost a 3-foot drop through the floor.
Somebody's been doing cool stuff here. Was that you or?
No. I came out here, saw him playing and everything, and then Campbell River Legion teaches it for free. So then it's like, screw it, I'm just going to go learn that. Because I was also looking at, like, they're not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And I'm the youngest at 31. So, yeah.
It needs to keep going on.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't pay for this. This is band supplied, right? So it's like, yeah.
Awesome.
I know, right? Now here I am, year and a half. Into
You're doing
learning it.
well.
Yeah, I know, right? Here, I'll move that out of the way.
Is this when you guys left here from last time?
No, somebody's been here. If you go up to the front where the flagpole is, somebody's got like 2 rocks and a little piece
That's one of the apple trees. Yeah. You can see it. You can see the little crab apples. So these railings were 15 installed by 193 Same thing with the flagpole here as well. And then we did a whole bunch of restoration work to put new handrails in the number 2. And then repinning all of what's called the plastic armor along the front. And we actually replaced 3 of the pillars in the number 1 gun. So we had to jack them up, support the whole structure, pull the huge beams, and yeah.
Are we going to put the flag up?
Over here? No, because otherwise we'll just forget.
Why?
No,
Because that's what we do.
I mean,
Forget things.
that is true. That's what we do, and then you end up with Leon's flag.
Here
I've got that at my house.
for almost a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in fine shape too.
Yeah, it lasted. It looked great.
Yeah, considering how many storms, like the storm
Yeah,
here, it did at least 3 sessions through winter at 100K.
Yeah, no, and it was fine. Not even a thread rip.
That's unreal. There's a couple apples on here this year, eh, Brendan?
Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah, check out. Yeah. Well, please.
Place moving this and
Yeah.
went inside of it and you get that reverberation.
Yeah. I'm just gonna check the cache. Somebody's been storing wood, eh? It's been storing wood.
So you started to unpack lunch already.
Yeah, we'll come back and. Oh my God! These are some of the crews from the race to Alaska.
Oh, nice. They stopped by and
Yeah, Straight Sentinel, Orion C, Black Tape, Touch and Go, Numeron.
That's this year too.
That's this year.
That's
These guys.
so awesome.
What they?
I
Like,
talked to Drew Morris. He was stuck here for days because of the wind. Yeah, he was stuck here for days. He and I were phoning and texting for a few days. The race to Alaska, people. Oh, Takamatos. I was watching all these guys.
They-
so cool.
That is fucking awesome.
Did they make their own trip, or did they just?
No,
like,
it's a race. It's a man-powered, no-engine race
Okay.
from Washington all the way up to Alaska
Right.
every year.
Oh.
And you have to like paddle or sail, or some crews make up their own thing. Like one group had propulsion based off a bicycle.
Oh,
And all that
okay.
other stuff. So.
Okay. No, that's cool.
Yeah. You want to sign the logbook? I kind of sort of did, but yeah, sign it. Absolutely. I even brought my coins this time. I remembered to bring my coins. Did I show you the case that I got?
No, I was.
I had a guy make a case for me for them, dude. It's gorgeous.
Oh.
He did it out of black walnut.
Oh.
Gorgeous. Yeah. I'm very, very happy with it.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Nice.
We'll just leave this open. We got about another 10 minutes before we'll start heading out to go do Sunderland 1 and 2. Do your parents want to come to Sunderland 1 and 2?
The search light.
Yeah.
I think that will.
It's slower.
Thank you. Probably stay up here. So, or do you want me to take pictures I can follow as well?
Well, I would think you should come if they're coming, just because at least there's effective communication. You too. You sign it too. Yeah. So, kilometer route. So essentially, they would have this. They would have a site. Something that looks like a giant sextant type thing mounted on here, and then they was replacing quite a few of these bolts so that these will stay in place, because these belly bars have been starting to come out quite a bit. And you can see, because it's asphalt, it's still slowly flowing.
Yeah.
Since it was put in. So, and then you can see the 3 beams that we replaced in here as well. And that was a massive, bringing in jacks, supporting the whole structure, pulling them out and replacing them.
So the opening in the roof over there?
That was that wouldn't have been there before. They put that in place so that they could jack the gun and lift the guns out.
Take the guns out. Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And then in the middle here, this is your crew shelter, and you'll have a great time with this from this point on. take a really close eye on all of the names that have been written on the walls. There is a who's who of people from Sayward, Kelsey Bay, boat crews, boat captains, individuals. There's a whole crap load of Scogans on this wall, for example. So yeah, and Despins and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so just feel free to keep an eye, because I have no doubt there's people you know that have written their name on the walls all the way, and that'll also include the entrance to the magazines. There's even more in the entrance to the magazine.
Wow. Cool, thanks.
This would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll let you know when we come out in April. You can come out with us if you like. It's a bit of a Yahoo trip.
Yeah, well, if you would have had a school thing, probably a little bit faster.
So this was
Crew shelter. So the idea of this room was there was two crews for each gun, and one crew would have been manning the guns while they were under fire, and the alternate crew to replace them should they take injury would have been waiting in here.
so in this one they encased the steel with cement.
Yes.
Wow. And it had a fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of it was coal stoves.
Coal.
Yeah, coal stoves. There's tons. There's you or buzzer. So yeah.
But it still works.
Yeah.
Watch out when you lean on the walls, it's like full of nails.
Yeah. Yeah. And then as I was saying, there's tons of names from Sayward in here.
I just moved Sayward a couple times.
Well, there's Nick Sikoski is right there. I know him from Sayward, and from Port Hewson, because we used to go up to Port Hewson a lot, and we were doing some work out there. That's how I discovered this place.
Oh.
And he dropped off a wood stove for us one year and left us a note. This one's really interesting for me because this is Major Vic Stevenson, eventually Colonel Vic Stevenson, with the 15th Coast Battery. They were here in 1981. Vic Stevenson and Peter Mook were the fellas that wrote Vancouver Defended, and Vic Stevenson was my mentor for York Island. Taught me 99% of what I needed to know, and also helped to connect me with a number of veterans and the 15th Field in Vancouver.
Wow.
And then I worked for Captain, eventually Major Ian Newby. Well, this is him when they did their first visit in 1981. This is when he came back in 2011 and 2012. He's a retired major now. He owns one of the biggest military prop and movie warehouses in Western North America. So when I worked for him, I like to say that I stayed at that job because I got to drive tanks for fun. So
are these actual like 1939?
No. That guy's full of that. Yeah. So this guy wrote that he was here, Mike Jensen, 1938. And other people that have been here are like, yeah, bullshit. You know, the shelter wasn't born until 1939, and no Jensen was on any, because we have the war diaries from here, and so I know every single person that was on this island, and there was never a Jensen, not even not in the Coast Militia, not in the 5th, not in the 50th, none of the Naval Reserves, and yeah, so he's whoever this is. Well, as they say, somebody called him out for Stolen Valley.
This is nice.
Yeah. John Carter. He also retired as a major. So. And Ed Neufeld, he's from Sayward. That's one of the race crews that does the Alaska, the race to Alaska.
Oh.
This is the Comox Valley Camera Club in 2012. He has video. He's the guy that has Victor Carre or whatever his name is that has that one video on YouTube. Yeah.
Which one's the oldest?
The oldest ones?
I saw there was an 89.
Well, no, there's other ones from like the 60s and 70s in the tunnel.
Nice.
So that's the Beaufort emplacement. They brought a boat, the Hotchkiss emplacement. They brought a 6-pound Hotchkiss, which is a small gun. It's fired a 6-pound shell. here because they realized that as far as firing the bring 2 rounds, which is to stop somebody firing a shot across their bow, they're actually using ammunition they'd need if they were in action. So they brought this gun out, and that's what they were, but it was really, really small. So that's where a lot of the confusion came for people thinking that it was a whale spouting or a fish jumping. Because
it's small.
yeah, so it's quite interesting.
Apple.
Have you found your name yet?
I don't know anybody.
I found a Scot already.
Oh, no, it's very hard to find Mary Ellen. Why did I do that? Well, I.
1963, 78.
Oh, here we go. I know this person. And that one.
There you go.
I don't know.
I'll let whoever's the pipe major at the time know. It's like, hey, you got the Sayward Legion asking for something.
Yeah.
We're 8 inches from the bottom, Ross.
Really, eh?
Yeah,
Holy smokes.
yeah.
Is that good or bad?
That's bad.
That's bad.
So it's time to move it.
That means we got to stir it up and
Well,
throw
we have
more.
an extra compartment.
Rotate.
Yeah.
So we can just move it over to the
It's
extra
a-
compartment.
Or we need to
It's
stir
got
it
the
up.
2 halves
Or
for a
we need
reason.
to stir it.
Literally, to
Yeah,
pick up
throw-
over to
Usually
the other
my
side.
job.
Throw
Just-
some peat and some more water in there.
Challenge claim.
So they're awarded to you by commanders of regiments or companies for these ones are for volunteer service.
Gotcha.
So that's the one that I was given when they named me the battery commander.
Mm-hmm.
That one was given to me by the Colonel Commandant of the Canadian Artillery, and that one was given to me by the CO of the 192 Regiment when I was out here helping them to do that. This one's my park stewardship coin.
Mm-hmm.
That one was given to me by John Rorison's family after he passed away. And this one was given to me by Whistling Bernie Smith, because after he served out here and after he came back from World War II, like actually being in Europe, he purchased a whole bunch of rolls of victory nickels, and he would give them out to kids when he was, because he was a beat cop in the Lower East Side. He's actually considered the founder of the modern concept of community policing, like worldwide.
I thought that was the Plesian policing thing
So-
that you talked about.
No, not really.
No,
Okay.
no, yeah. So that was Whistling, and this was the last nickel that he had. He gave it to me when the last time I got to go visit
Oh,
him.
nice.
Yeah, so
It's a nice case.
yeah. A real salty old woodworker that I've known for a lot of years made this for me out of black walnut. So
Is someone still in there?
yep.
So it's a real point.
How that-
Oh, yeah, you can see a screw the barbed wire. There. Is that wire or
No, that's
barbed wire?
comm wire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's comm wire. So what is this? This is an observation post. They had one here. They had one at Courtney Bay. And they had one hard as well. This one has been, what shall we say,
Poorly recreated.
artfully licensed. Is that?
Yeah, artfully licensed
Yeah,
is
is that-
about right.
It's not what it actually looked like, but there's somebody who just
No, it looks
We did.
something like this.
similar, but not. Yeah.
As chintzy.
Or, well, yeah, it's the contractor that came to do a bunch of the historical work out here is also a timber framer.
Okay.
So he decided to recreate this under a timber framing sort of idea. And that's all we really have to say about that.
what was the roof supposed to actually look like?
It was flat.
Yeah, it wasn't. So. It wasn't flat, but it wasn't this pointy. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, it was like.
It was
Gingerly
gently sloped, you know.
It was, yeah, and then with the.
Back up.
Do a little bushy button.
Is there a den here?
This was a searchlight replacement. So this would have had six almost 7 foot tall, CERT 800 million candle power searchlight.
Scary crafts too.
Yeah.
Not as bad as the other one, but.
In April, I'm coming over with these so that we can put them in the center to stop the cantilever.
Yeah, Justin was saying he has some of those ones where it's poles with like telescopic, you can place them up.
Yeah.
I think he just said that they're just there, right? Like he's not using them
Yeah.
because we gotta put something.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So if you're ever interested in what the weather is like out here, you just gotta Google Fanny Island Weather Station, because that's it right over there on little tiny Fanny Island.
Right straight over there.
Whenever I'm missing this place, I just call it the Fanny Island Station. 90% of the time, it hasn't sent in a signal or a report. Seem to be up there maintaining that thing quite a bit, but it is on one of the most stark pieces of real estate on the West Coast, so.
So is there any infrastructure on the other island here?
No. They did burn Clarence to the ground though, in 1940, mid 1940.
Oh, so they could have better sight lines?
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite stories about this place is the first group of people that were out here. The CEO was a really cool, interesting guy, and so a lot of captains were like didn't want to stop here, like they just didn't, like they didn't feel like they should, they didn't feel like they wanted to, and all those other kinds of things. So they stopped this one boat, and the skipper was so salty about it that they actually put him in custody and brought him and his boat over to the wharf here, and him and the CEO ended up getting into it. And so he said to the CEO, he said, all right, he said, I will bet you that the next time I go through, you won't catch me. I'll bet you a bottle of liquor on it. And the CEO, they came up to this gentleman's agreement, and they knew he was coming by again, and so everybody was ready to watch for him. And a couple of the fellows that served out here told me that they were waiting, and all of a sudden one of the fellows, he says, I was looking, and you know, you're looking, and everything sort of seems the same, and you're kind of, and all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, that island is moving. And so everybody starts calling out. They rip up one of the searchlights, and what the guy had done is he'd gone to shore somewhere and grabbed all kinds of trees and moss and all this other kinds of stuff and put it all over his ship, so you couldn't even see the ship except for about this far above the water line. So it's just this. So he ended up coming back and having to get in trouble and all these other kinds of things for passing by. And the seal was really happy, and he got his bottle of liquor. And then the guy said, "I tell you what, you'll never do it again. You will not catch me the second time." And everybody went, "Okay, well, we got you." And then a week later, everybody woke up in the morning and he was tied to the dock. So he got his bottle of liquor back from the CO. So,
Well, that's good training.
yeah. And then you can see the house on the little island that's just outside of the harbor there. You can see the White House way off in the distance there.
Yeah. That's
At the entrance to the harbor. What's that?
Entrance to Port Neville?
Yeah.
It's not a lighthouse, it's just a house?
It's a house, yeah, it's a residence. I've seen it. He's got a boat garage that he had to build over towards the end of the house and stuff like that. Had to spend quite a bit of money on it. He's got his own ramp and a truck and stuff like that over there. But he had to spend a whole bunch of money on the boathouse because, what was it? Twice in 5 years, the grizzly swam over and ate his Zodiac.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, eight is Zodiac. It's real deal.
All right, and now we're gonna have to go up this hill here, go to the number 2, and then we're back up to the fort.
It's a pair of kids' vans. See the checker?
No.
No. Yeah, pair of kids' vans. Oh yeah, see, there's the adult print beside it.
To Johnstone Strait.
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
Yeah. Which I thought
That's
was...
somebody close by.
Yeah, just right over there.
Yeah. These, all down in here, we missed them, but these are all chocolate lilies in here.
Oh,
Yeah.
You get big, huge.
really?
Yeah, they have really nice brown flowers, which is weird for a
Yeah.
flower. Yeah.
What a chocolate colored lily. Yeah.
But you can't see Alert Bay from here.
Yeah, no, it's around the corner.
Yeah.
Albright Island, so.
And all of these trees would have been the same thing, they would have been knocked down and they wouldn't be here, so we left a full field of view. So they're within the past 80 years.
You guys wanted a picture? Down there, and all the waterfalls are active. So much debris in the water.
Yeah, it would have been dry too, right? So it's not like you have all that water going into the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of runoff. So this one's not cantilevering as bad?
No, well, actually, this one doesn't even have those other shutters like the other one, so you can see the cracks, right?
Yeah.
And that's just from over time.
Yeah.
So this will be another one where we're gonna get a pole or a post of some kind, and the idea is we'll probably come up to a center point like this and have it go up to try and take what's left of the load, so that if it crushes on a little bit more, that's gonna kind of be it.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can really do about it unless we got posts to properly come up, because that's what part of the shutters we're doing. Like if you had one fixed here, yeah, it's rotting in place at the same time, but it's helping with it. They're just heavy.
These shutters all fell out here?
I don't know. I'm not seeing any iron to it. So I mean, they could have removed them.
Yeah, okay. Because the one on the other, there's a couple shutters that fall
Yeah,
out.
I mean, and if these ones, right, had fallen away, like they could be down there for all we know.
Yeah. Well, if they hit the salt water, they're done. You
Yeah.
won't see them again.
Our right or your right?
My right.
So to the left.
To the left, to the left.
Max, you have to get in on this photo.
Yeah, everybody has to.
Everybody, come on.
There we go.
Here. Get in here, Chad.
Look, we're super official.
Yeah.
Ross, we're super official.
There you go. Everything was, over years, scraping and sweeping and shoveling, and we scrape and sweep this every spring. And most of the pathways and stuff like that around here, the whole thing gets a scrape and a sweep every spring. So, yeah.
Supposedly Don Bishop wants to kill the moss, prevents it from growing back.
Yeah, arc of fire. This is the number 2's arc of fire. So that meant that none of the trees that you see here would have been in the way and have all since grown.
Wait, sorry, why does this one have number 1 on the, is this number 1 or
No,
number
it's
2?
number 1 on this. But that's the number 1 gun.
Oh,
See,
that's
even
funny.
as you read it, see?
That's funny.
Number 1 is number 2, number 2 is
Okay.
number 1.
Okay.
So, yeah. Okay. So,
That sounds like a bad bathroom accident.
battery was the first battery called up as part of any Canadian unit being shipped out as part of World War II. So they left Vancouver on the 28th and arrived on the 29th. They were dropped off, and meeting them was a bunch of Pacific Coast Militia Rangers and fellas from the number 5 regiment in Victoria. They were all already muddy in gumboots and work coveralls. So the official battery comes to take over, and those guys actually got in trouble for a couple of weeks until everybody spent some time here and realized, no, this is the new normal. We are not going to be in perfect uniforms. We're not going to be able to sustain that. So especially because they just couldn't even do laundry. They didn't have proper water or food here for almost the first year they were here. Problems with getting food, get the meat arriving spoiled, not enough, all the stuff arriving spoiled, not being able to contain it properly. So there was a lot of challenges for the logistics at first of this place. So when they first were here, they just had poured concrete in the same spot with just camouflage netting over top of them on steel decks, and those were 4.7-inch guns. The Hotchkiss was brought in later and put in this spot, and then after Pearl Harbor again, that's when things really ramped up. So we got our anti-aircraft armor, with the stuff that's poured on there is not actually concrete. It's a bitumen and asphalt mixture called plastic armor. So poured and made here, mounted in place. And the difference is there's a, when a shell or anything hits this, there'll be a lot of fragmentation when it comes to harder surfaces and different types of concrete. But this was designed so that it would hit it, and a lot of that would be shock. That shock would be absorbed and that energy taken away. So, and of course, these were designed to keep it so, because they were expecting to be strafed by Japanese aircraft. The plan that they assumed would happen would be that the Japanese planes would lift off somewhere north of here, and they assumed would come up and over so that they would have less avenues of attack. So this was designed to keep everybody safe from attack from above. And that's also why on the top up of the BOP, on the very top of the roof would have been one of those 40mm Beaufort cannons. And those things had a arc of fire up to 7 miles. So they were pretty impressive things. And they could pound off 5 shots in just about as many seconds. The clang, clang, clang. You see, they're the type of ones that you've often seen in some of the more popular movies about World War II and Pearl Harbor and those kinds of things. So what would have happened was a vessel would be coming by. None of the stuff of under attack, just daily operations for the place. Vessels would be coming by either down Johnstone Strait or splitting onto Sunderland. The first room right there, and we'll go and take a look at it, was called the clinometer room. There's a big post in there, and there would have been equipment mounted on there that would have looked like a next level type of sextant. That person would have called out the bearings for where they were firing, and if the vessel didn't stop for any of the boats in the Fisherman's Reserve, that would signal up to here, and they would start firing shots across the bow. They first started using the 4.7s, and there was a very famous letter that Major Piercy, the CEO of the 8.5, that sent to Western Command at the time, where he said, we need to come up with a different way to do this because we're literally using the ammunition we need for an action to fire these shots across the bow. And he actually put in a letter that if this continued on, they would have no choice left but to throw rocks. And that's a very, very, you're not supposed to say it that way to your higher ups kind of idea. So there's a bit of comedy there. So this one would have fired shots across the bow to try to get people to stop. And then they'd also meet up with the Fisherman's Reserve and submit to an inspection. Or they'd be brought over here and then spoken to further and further inspections if needed. Then the next room up in there, that was the that we'll be going to as well, would have been the searchlight control room. They had the 3 searchlights on the water. Each one of the searchlights was an 800 million candle power searchlight. We saw that they had all of those slats that were moving. A lot of the time, they would actually set those up and stagger them with gaps. Because of the way that the human eye works tracking motion, if you constantly have something lit up, it can make it so that your eye just starts to get used to it. But with those slats, it meant that when something moved into that beam, it was supposed to help you to see it better and easier. So they would often do that. The really interesting part for the Kelsey Bay folks is I talked to a number of old fellas that remember it. And they said that if the number 3 searchlight was on and turned all the way to the left, it would not actually be pointing at Kelsey Bay, but it was still bright enough to read a newspaper on the dock. So pretty cool. After the next part of the action would have been trying to figure out where it would, from the observation and radio, if they were able to reach the guy, anybody. There were a number of American vessels that would go up and down, and very famously there was an American captain who just about refused to stop all the time and would create quite a bit of an incident. He was the captain of the Army Engineers boat that would go back and forth all the way from Alaska, and there's a number of times in the logs where he and the CO from this place were going back and forth. And even though there were different COs, the same captain was very consistent. It wasn't until about 1943 that he agreed to start following the Canadian protocols in Canadian waters, because he just really felt like he didn't have to. At the beginning of when the first people arrived, there was about 120 guys that would have been on the island. They would have maintained all these guns, and the different outposts, the searchlights as well, were put in first, but before a lot of this construction. And then after they had the incident at Pearl Harbor, and they decided they were going to upgrade this, during the construction for the next 10 months, 12 months after that, there could have been up to 500 people on this island working on the construction crews. And when we go into the magazines, you'll see a number of names that were written in there. And it's quite interesting that two of the fellas that were obviously on this work crew showed up and put a tribute to Alan Geary, who was the head of the civilian construction crew that was doing that. I was asked if there was somebody that passed away here, and there was a fellow that was involved in an incident with being on the water between here and Hardwick. There were some engineers that were over on Hardwick getting sand as part of doing some concrete work. So they filled up a punt. Wallace, Howe, and the skipper of the boat were tasked to go over and get them and bring that punt back, towing it. They started to notice that with the engineers still on board, that the boat was sinking. So they started pulling up the line onto the deck of the boat that they were on. They got the engineers on board, and at about that time, the boat had sunk, and the line got wrapped around Wallace's leg, and he was pulled over. Howe was actually injured trying to keep Wallace above water. They dragged the water for quite a while, and there was a request for divers and additional assistance, but because there was no trace of them whatsoever, command decided that they'd done what they could. We've had the opportunity, as part of doing research and work through here, that we were able to find Wallace's medals. At some point they had been sold or given away. We tracked them down to a collector in Norway, and 2 years ago we got them returned to the 15th Regiment Museum. So there's been a lot of amazing times that I've had, not only with these fellas out here, but I also got to meet 4 different veterans that served out here and became very close to all of them. Some of them did some really amazing things. If you get the chance when you go home, on YouTube or on the National Film Board website, you'll want to look up the documentary called Whistling Smith. Bernie served here. He was very happy to serve because he was a very hungry kid, and at that time there wasn't a lot of money for him, so he was happy to sign up. Lots of meals, gave you food. He spent time out here and was very famous for him and his best friend, when they get bored, used to like to beat the crap out of each other. They like to box and stuff like that. So, and very ironically, his friend, I can't remember his first name, but when you look at it on the records, he's named Boy Thompson. Anytime you see that in records from that time, that means that fellow was signed up underage. So he was not 18 when he was here. And there's a photo of John here. 1 month after he arrived here was his 18th birthday. So there was quite a few of really young fellas that were out here during that time. So if you get to Whistling Smith, you'll get to see this fantastic documentary of what it was like to be a beat cop in 1975 on the Lower East Side in Vancouver. And Bernie was really famous for whistling, of course, and it was pretty amazing when I got to meet him. I got to meet him 2 times, and the first time I met him, he was already blind, and he did 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 crunchies, 100 burpees, 100 arm curls, 100 leg lifts, and 8 kilometers on his treadmill twice a day. He was 82. He was also blind. So it was amazing to visit him, because he would get up and he would start whistling, and it took me a minute to realize that he was whistling to actually echolocate around his house. It was pretty, yeah, it was quite chilling. And that was pretty funny for me too, because he also explained to me that he just had a problem with some of his caraids, and he caught one stealing because he went through his dining room and he whistled and things didn't sound right. He went over and started checking some shelves and she'd taken some stuff. So an amazing guy. John Rorson married a war bride, brought her over to Canada. They adopted 2 children, an amazing guy. Joe Quilty was not only the guy that did the Target tug, but he was also a very famous tugboat captain for many years up and down the coast. And Bill Lewis, I didn't get to spend a lot of time with Bill, but I think it was really cool that when he and John came for a visit, we brought them over here just because I was told by somebody that if you're going to be doing research with people, it's one thing to interview them at their home, but if you can take them where they were, then there's all of the things that they'll remember. So we put digital recorders on them and took them around the island. And it was pretty amazing that about a year later, when his son called me to say that Bill had passed, he was really grateful because the experience had sort of unlocked something in his dad, where because of the mentality of war, you came home, you didn't talk about it. You know, you were just supposed to rub some dirt on it psychologically and continue on your way kind of idea for that. Just unlocked something for them, and he said that they actually ended up becoming the closest they've been. So there's some really amazing stuff that's happened out here for us to, you know, meet all the crazy people that come out here from time to time that show up randomly, good or bad. And we've had some great experiences being able to go to Vancouver and explore some of the places in Vancouver that are attached to the artillery. So if you guys ever are in Vancouver and it's a Wednesday, show up at the 15th Street Armory, the 15th Field Armory. It's on Arbutus Street, and tell them you're somebody that's been to York Island, and they can show you and talk to you everything about it, because the museum's open from 10 until 2 every Wednesday. Some of the fellows that signed the wall will probably actually be in there to talk with you. And then when you're in Vancouver, it also gives you the fun time to go to some of the, like if you go to Wreck Beach, there's the big towers that everybody talks about there. Those were searchlight emplacements. Vancouver had 10 of them. Point Atkinson actually has what I consider to be the best intact searchlight emplacement still in today. And it's ironic because it's because of all of the decades and decades and decades of taggers going out there and spray painting everything. So it stopped the metal from degrading. So there's actually doors still hanging up and shutters still in place.
They still do the 9 o'clock then.
Yeah. And and then if you get the chance as well, go to UBC, to the Museum of Anthropology. To give you an idea about this concrete, they tried to demolish the Point Grey battery to build the Museum of Anthropology. There's a spot on one wall that you can touch where you can see where they attached the charge, and it's only if you rub it that you can feel. And it was a demolitions charge that did nothing. So they had to redesign it, and they built the Museum of Anthropology right on top of the gun emplacement. So if you go outside, you can actually stand in the number 3 gun. But if you've ever been in there, there's the very famous sculpture by Bill Reed of Raven and Man that is built in the number 2 gun emplacement from the Point Grey battery. You're standing in the number 2 gun emplacement. And we've had fun where we've been able to go in the tunnels underneath. And so when you're standing in that, I've been 20 feet under you in the tunnels where they have all their magazines and stuff. So that's enough of the fun stuff. Let's go. It's a massive container that had like arc welders and TIG welders and plasma cutters and all this stuff. Then we put the little jacks on top of them, and that's how we boosted the roof of the number 1 gun to replace the beams. So there was each rack, and this particular one, each gun would have been loaded with 50 rounds plus powder cartridge, and then they have a card to break the rounds. This one would have anywhere between 500 to 600 rounds, I believe, in here. But we have photos where just in this section they were standing up, and I've counted over 100 just in that section. So there's still a whole bunch of area that we don't have photos of, where there would have been more shells. People had fires coming down here, so it's cracked concrete floor. And then this would have been your way to get out. And in the hallway, those two big areas here actually had hydraulic lifts for them, so they would back the truck up to here, put everything on it, and then they would bring it down and to be able to move the thing. And that's why there's one here. Once again, the only time that you had the powder and the shell together was in the barrel. Yeah. So they're always separate. So yeah, so one for the powder. And then I did mention that you don't want to lick the walls, right? Because this is exactly.
Awesome.
Whoa. Look.
Yes. Poison. Yeah, not good to eat. Poison.
Yeah, there was a phone here. It used to be here. Somebody stole it
Aw.
from when I was here.
Oh yeah, because you can see the.
Yeah, yeah. So straight up here is the fort,
Okay.
like right up the hill.
I'll be right there.
Yeah, you won't. Yeah, that's why we just don't do it because it's steep as heck. But yeah, so this. It's very windy. See the concrete block here. It's separating, and this top is coming down. Okay? So we're going to want to put some poles supporting this end here to stop the top from coming off, and then we're going to have to put something up in here, and we're hoping to make some more of those shutters, and we'll just have them half closed here, and then that'll hold up this piece right here, but we'll have to get it all sorted. But you can see the door mechanism here is rotting off and it's falling apart, and then like this has an advanced state of decay, so there's not much to be done there.
I mean, it's sat inside of these collars here. Just like that. Plunk. Right? And that held it, and it went right across here. And same there, and then, yeah, the boiler is right over there. Right. And so, yeah, this was quite the gymnasium. They played films and had dances and whatever else.
约克岛不仅仅是一座岛屿，更是一块充满历史与自然气息的宝地。在这里，你可以体会到从二战时期海防的战略重要性，到现代自然保护的宁静与美丽。对于热爱冒险历史与自然的游客来说，约克岛是一趟不容错过的旅程。让你的冒险之旅成为一场穿越时空的对话，聆听这片土地在历史与自然中唱出的歌声。离开时，我满怀回忆，对未来抱有无限期待。我知道这里的每一个细节，都将成为我人生中最美的片段。每当想起约克岛，我都会感受到那份纯净与宁静，提醒我去追求更简单、更真实的生活。这次旅程，约克岛不仅让我见识了大自然的奇迹， 更在心里种下了一颗追求自由与美丽的种子。期待他在未来的岁月里茁壮成长。